One, two, three.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops.
Yes, so many cops are on the tick. What do you expect when they use tear gas and tanks? Whether in a car or on a horse, cops don't mind using excessive force.
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
This is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
So it's kind of like a overwhelming amount of people just being murdered by police every other day, every day. So this happened recently. Andrew Brown Jr. was, according to an independent autopsy, was struck by 4 bullets in the arm before a fatal shot in the back of the head, right in the middle of his head. Right now, while recovering this right now at the moment, police have shown up in riot gear and formed a line around there. It's a curfew right now in North Carolina.
Street is prohibited. If you do not disperse immediately, you will be arrested. North Carolina General Statute, standing, sitting, or lying.
So this is what upsets people. Like, instead of dealing with the problem, they bring out the most army people, military armor.
Show them 8 straight days of how we've been acting, how we've sent a message to the world that we still can get change peacefully without tearing up stuff. But they are forcing us or trying to unite us to do what? Burn stuff down or become chaotic. We stayed out here to prove a point, and even at 9 o'clock, we still have been what? Peaceful. So at the end of the day,
excuse me, let's take that non-violent. Non-violent, because we still doing direct action. It's just non-violent.
So apparently to the tweet, even though he said we proved our point, he's the only one who left. So, so that's what's going down in Elizabeth City, North Carolina at the moment. Yeah. What's up?
My thoughts. My first thought. Okay, my second thought, because my first thought was how tired I am of this.
Yeah, let me pull up.
So my second thought is sometimes we get people that come through our show and they talk about how racist we are and how we pander to the stupid people because the cops are always right, and it's okay that they're taking colored people's lives without due process. They're judge, jury, and executioner. They don't want the police to treat them that way, but they're cool with the way that black people are being treated and other colored people are being treated. And they say that we focus too much on these stories. And we went through this entire show talking about other shit. We did not have a bad cop segment set up for tonight. But we cannot get away from it. The more that we want to get away from the Derek Chauvins of the world, the more the Derek Chauvins keep popping up in our society. And you would think with the added scrutiny of what these cops are doing that they would err on the side of caution and maybe holster that sidearm for a little while longer. But it just seems like I don't like talking about this shit. When I understand that this show was born off of me talking about this shit, and then that came together to create the show. I get that. But, even the video that I made concerning the response to what happened after George Floyd was murdered, after George Floyd was murdered. It's still not shit I want to talk about. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. It's not the message I want to bring to the world. However, we keep getting stuck right here in this spot. We cannot ignore these things. Derek Chauvin is probably going to walk on the murder charges that he was convicted of. On some weird ass technicality. Or he'll only do 10 years.
I feel that's the trauma that people have at the beginning. They thought he's going to walk away in the first place, but
Yeah.
but they're actually willing to sacrifice him, I guess, in some weird way. So I have some. So I will pull up the live footage, actually a live stream that's of the protest. It's not that many people there, but yet they have this like, well, overwhelming presence, police presence for some reason, because that's what they rather do than talk to the community and give us money, rather like have this happen. So I want to pull this up while we think about this. So this is what's happening right now. People are outside of curfew right now. This is actually a live protest we're watching in North Carolina from the Status Coup live stream on YouTube. This is after curfew, and all protesters. So that means after curfew, that's the excuse to arrest you. Curfew is like a really old ass thing that slave patrols. That used to be a thing they used to do for slaves. After hours, you get handcuffed and brought to your slave master. So curfew is kind of a traumatizing thing to me when I hear about it. So that's what they like to do. They did that during the George Floyd stuff in New York City. They had a curfew in New York City.
They just gave the final warning. All right, I'm not going to change out my battery just yet.
So the cops rather be really scary looking, scary, spooky people in the street rather than like talk to the community.
Yeah, they really do look like a line of thugs. It don't look like hey, Bruno. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. But I do know for sure that I'm tired of this shit.
I mean, what are we gonna get out of this? What are we get out of people beating up people who really people protest because they feel very polished because we don't have the guns, we don't have the shields, we don't have the lawyers, we don't have the judges, we don't have the prosecutors. So that's why people go out in the streets with their little signs and sit in the street and draw attention to it. So when you show up with like riot gear and like helicopters and drones and look at these kids out there. These don't look like militia members from the mountains. These are children right here. That looks like to me. And so against heavily armed people. So hopefully we can check the stream out as long as we can. I heard that he's going to change his battery.
They're really quick to protect inanimate objects, but not hearing a whole lot about why they're shooting people in the back of the head. Because that's what the cartel does. That's what the Mexican drug cartels do. They shoot people that aren't going to shoot back. They shoot them in the back of the head.
I heard them give the final warning. But let's see what happens.
Is that an officer right there?
No.
It looked like a random police officer was just standing there.
So as you see, the amount of protests is not it's not a lot, and the police presence is really overwhelming, to be honest, for the amount of people that are out there. So we're watching footage from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. As you heard, like people want answers to why this man was shot straight in the back of the head. They're not really answering why that happened. So that's why people are out here in the streets. And
do we know if Andrew Brown Jr. was he armed or was he unarmed?
I mean, we can dig into that now. That's what truth we can see at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, because I don't want to like jump the gun and.
So that's the thing. I'm not even jumping the gun. That's the thing. People just want accountability. People want to know what happened, and we don't trust them to know what happened. That's why people are out there in the first place. Like, what happened? Why did someone get shot right in the back of the head? So we're gonna put this up real quick.
Quasi Spec asks, "Is this the guy that got shot taking his kids to school?" I don't really know anything about this.
This is what's traumatizing about what's happening here. Like, there's so many police killings that we have to like keep up with them. You know, it's
All right,
like
so it
I
looks
can't
like,
keep up with all these police killings.
More police just arrived.
Stay cool. How the hell they gonna stay cool with them weapons in their head?
Are they on the roof? Who's on the roof? Oh, those are members of the press.
I've seen that.
So this is really tense. I've been to protests like this, and this is really tense. You don't know if the cops all of a sudden is going to act like it's like dealing with a wild dog, you know. It's all of a sudden he's like crazy on you.
A wild dog on a leash. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking, I'm trying to put myself in the position of those officers, and then I think of all the kids that grew up wanting to be police officers, and it's like, what kind of pride can you have being the symbol of oppression in your community?
I mean, when you have more and more stories of this and less stories,
yeah, there's less feel-good stories out there. Definitely.
And when they feel good stories, they're really pathetic. It's like helping a cat down a tree or something like that. What is happening? So the police are now moving forward. Right now we're watching the police moving forward with a handful of protesters.
Who are they ordering to move back?
This is happening in Elizabeth City. It's like North Carolina. It's about 160 miles northeast of Raleigh, North Carolina.
I just don't understand like how you could have pride in this. It's very difficult for me to look at this and say, "Wow, this is a job that I'm happy."
So right
to
now,
to.
I think that's really what we're waiting for an investigation of why the shooting happened in the first place. We're not even got a clear answer why it happened. I'm digging into it. I don't see anything. I just see like they just want an investigation. It's like he had his hands in the steering wheel in the video. So it says that Andrew did have his hands in the steering wheel when he was shot. So,
I heard about a shooting. Is that the same shooting? That the hands were on the steering wheel?
That's what it says in the story for Andrew Brown.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I did see something about that beforehand.
But
about
still not,
someone
still
being
really,
shot with his hands on the steering wheel.
Still not
which
clear.
is what you're taught to do. You're taught to keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah. So right now the police are moving on the protesters. We're watching this live in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. This.
Might be serious right here, y'all.
Yeah, they look like clowns. They're like clowns.
Yeah, like how?
You grown ass men. Get out of here, bro. You guys gonna start stomping, doing claps? Ludacris is sue them right now. Ludacris will be a lawsuit. Oh no! So right now they're getting close.
This is, yo, Quasi, why did you say exactly what the fuck was in my head? Quasi Spec says this is both concerning and a little silly. That's exactly what the fuck I just thought. I'm like, this shit looks ridiculous.
No battles all week. We come peaceful.
And what's scary that we had a child get shot in the chest with his hands up in Chicago. So
It was your part. How would you feel?
So I guess we all thinking the same shit. How can you be proud of what you're doing?
Y'all know they wrong.
The streamer we getting right now is from Status Coup. He was about to change his battery, and then now the cops are pretty much moving on. So hopefully he stays live as long as he can. We can watch this live. I'm seeing the live stream right now that's showing this.
Like a dog in the street. Yeah.
Stand the day, baby. Get off.
You see that the officers pacing back and forth with their less lethal.
So they might. This is what happens sometimes too. They might randomly start spraying the random person in the face with the pepper spray,
or hitting them with rubber rounds.
Yeah,
because that's what it looks like.
And that agitates people, and that causes them the excuse to start beating people up. So, same bullshit tactic. So now they're moving forward again. Now it's really getting really tense.
Yo, how proud can you be of what you're doing? Like I don't know, man. I don't know. I know, like, people got bills to pay. It would be really difficult for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out there on this assignment to go pick on some unarmed people who are upset because we killed somebody.
So, like, the protest is really about this releasing the video and releasing what happened. People not really sure what even happened. So,
Dress it up. Dress it up. Dress it up. No justice. No peace. You stand today, baby.
so they're getting really close. This is really tense right now. This is face to face at the moment. They're face to face with protesters in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. You see the cops going to move again.
I do feel a little bit of sorrow as well. You know, every time I feel like there's a little bit of hope, the hope just goes away. Look at these guys. These guys are more protected than our U.S. military overseas in war zones. This is crazy. This is absolutely ridiculous.
So this is really tense. They moved the line pretty much across the block, and now they're face to face. And they got clubs, which is not like Nerf.
Could you imagine? I don't know. I'm an idiot. Could you imagine if riot officers were equipped with silly string? Kansas, like, silly string?
We switched them out at the last minute. This is really tense. This is against, I mean, clearly unarmed protesters. The man has a cigarette in his hand. You know, he's.
You know that they'll trump that charge up. Oh, he tried to burn me with a cigarette.
You definitely hear that.
One of the officers here is agreeing with them.
This is, oh man, it's just.
So they're giving another one. We hear what the streamer is saying.
I have kids, bro. I have kids. I'm doing this for my kids, for their future. For their future.
What kind of gun is that? What the fuck is that?
It's a non-lethal.
Munitions, less than lethal munitions.
Oh, y'all
which
kill
will cause a risk or has a risk to injury.
Now they're threatening to use non-lethal emissions on the protesters now. So you just
Their
heard that
response
live?
to someone being killed extrajudiciously, as far as people know or think.
So you just heard that live?
Their response is to take away people's rights. You're not allowed to be outside. Instead of holding themselves accountable, they want to continue to add suppressive measures to the citizens of the jurisdictions they're supposed to be protecting.
So as you see, there are journalists out there as well. So once non-lethal emissions start being used, then there's going to be protesters and everybody else being hit by it. So it's really tense at the moment. Oh, Quasi Spec says the gun that the cop he looks like they tried to
A
cool up
paintball gun, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I bet they did that too. We really need to make it more manly. So this is really intense right now. No one's backing down.
This is annoying. This is annoying. Annoying to watch. Annoying to try to unpack in my mind.
Let me try and change out my battery now.
So hopefully the streamer's about to change up its battery. Hopefully he comes back up because this is like crazy.
I have nothing left. Give me 1 second. Yeah.
Hey. What bull? I got something.
Give me the 3 cars.
If I knew that there was body cam footage of one of my fellow officers shooting somebody in the back of the head who had his hand on the steering wheel, both hands visible, I would say, yo, I'm quitting if you don't get rid of this guy. I mean, why would I want to be associated? Like, could you imagine if, like, you knew somebody and they, like, did some crime against a child?
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna like get rid of this guy or what? Because I don't want to be associated with him.
Yeah, and I think it's layers to it. It's like you knew someone that committed a crime as a child, and they were they were a teacher. You know, it's like that level of thing. It's like what? It's like
like I don't want to be a teacher here at this institution if this person continues to work here.
Yeah,
you know, because I don't want to be associated with that.
So we got the bikes coming in.
And the thing is, these guys on the front, they're some wild boys in a good way. But they're making it very, very, very clear. If you assault us, you're in the wrong, not us.
Yeah, they got their hands up. Clearly, they have their hands up. They're standing their ground. And it's only a handful of them. Status Coup went back and showed what was happening. It was just like 20 people scattered in the corner. So, and you see the amount of police. So this is happening right now, Elizabeth City, North Carolina. This is coming from Andrew Brown Jr., who was shot in the arm, 4 times in the arm, then right in the head. And then they want accountability what happened, and they released 20-second video. And they're not really clear the circumstances of what happened, which is why these protests happened in the first place. So we're seeing the police march forward a couple of times, and now they're pretty much stopped here. And
I'm hoping that this is them showing some kind of restraint. But I don't know, man. You know,
yeah, this is what we're waiting.
I mean, maybe I'm judging the officers on the front line. Maybe I'm judging them too much. You know, we don't know what could be in their head. They could be thinking this is as ridiculous as we think it is. You know, they might have an issue with what they're being made to do, and they're following orders. I don't know.
But they're there right now. Clearly, they know they outnumber the protesters.
Yeah, and they are a symbol of oppression, whether they want to be or not.
And ATVs, quads, they came out. I don't want to take my camera off over here because I feel like they're gonna move in. I do want to show the dirt bikes and the quads, but I feel if I take my camera off, something will happen.
Isn't that crazy? You think that's
yeah, that's a lot. That's a crazy fear to have. Like this camera is the only thing keeping them honest because you know.
Oh, look at this!
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
that's interesting.
He's excited to be there tonight.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's interesting.
He is. So
that's interesting.
Wow.
There are police organizations in our country that have outlawed those kinds of patches on uniforms because of what it represents in modern policing fraternities. The Punisher wanted the Punisher killed and maimed people extrajudiciously because they felt like the law wasn't delivering justice. So the Punisher wanted to fill in the cracks. And it's cool as a Marvel comic character. It is not cool in real life, dealing with actual human beings.
And the Punisher creator, actually, I meant he killed cops, he killed firefighters. I mean, it's like he fought corruption. And the original creators of Punisher said that they don't even want to be associated with the crazy shit that these cops think the Punisher is about.
Yeah,
they misinterpreting what the Punisher is. It's like so
in the most extreme, violent, abhorrent way.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how some nerdy kids understand who the Punisher is.
Now they're moving forward. They're about to move forward. They're trying to intimidate the protesters. So they have a random person here.
Oh, and they're going to try to use a woman to manipulate them too.
But where's the white woman at?
My hands in there. I'm peaceful. My hands in there, and I'm peaceful. Yo, we seeing it, bro. We have it on tape. Everything is fixed. We got that. You got that? My hands are in the air, and I'm peaceful.
So they're arresting the protesters. As you see how peaceful they are. They are peacefully being arrested. You can't. And if you watch protesters, there's a lot of times what happens. It's not the violent stuff that they try to show on TV and stuff. Usually it's this stuff happening. It's like,
again, 97% of all of the George Floyd protests featured zero violence, and a large portion of the other 3% that were classified by the FBI as violent were people taking down Confederate statues of avowed racists with no other so-called violence. But they wanted the media wanted to keep you, thinking about those kinds of things.
Look how they're being arrested.
Thank you, sir. Close it up. All right.
And these people think that they're doing the right thing.
So we're watching live arrests in Elizabeth City right now of protesters. So we're watching live arrests right now of protesters from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. It's the shooting death of Andrew. It's crazy that everyone almost have the same name, Andrew Brown Jr. It's really unfortunate. He was shot in the back of the head with his hands on the steering wheel, and for some reason,
and their remedy for that problem is to arrest protesters who aren't doing anything. That's their remedy for one of their own killing someone extrajudiciously. I wish I was making this shit up.
So they're still threatening to use non-lethal munitions. So far, it's been
against who?
Peaceful
against
arrest.
who? Nobody's throwing anything. Nobody's doing anything. I mean, they don't even have riot shields.
Tell your kid you don't give a fuck.
As you see, the police outnumber the protesters.
You know how you really feel about this whole situation.
Like, are they flying a helicopter for these people? Like, the amount of resources being used is absurd.
Ready, move.
Oh, and then they're moving forward again. So now it's a woman now.
Really? What do I got? What really? Look in my fucking face. Like, for real.
So we're watching some live.
You know, another thing too. You know, I listen to a lot of people who, you know, talk about being, you know, part of these militias, and they've got their Confederate flags, and they talk about "Don't tread on me." Where are those voices? When you talk about, you know, they always talk about the police state and Big Brother and all this stuff, right? Where are they in these situations?
Because, like, you know, this makes their world comfortable. The destruction of this, you know, this system makes their world comfortable. They don't give a shit. This happens to black people, poor people.
This man got paint in his face. Making them do this. The same ones that's been standing in front.
Then they're moving forward.
They gonna just do the city. They don't want to hurt us. I really don't think they want to hurt us. Not our police force. I'm praying in my heart that that's true, because I know a lot of y'all personally.
Trees, back up out the face now. Get out the face. Tree stand, but get out the face.
Hey, you get out, bro. When does it stop, guys? When it's my son? When it's your son? When does it stop? Look at the female.
She's talking to a fucking brick wall.
Yeah, I've seen this. Like, yeah.
These, I don't know, man. I don't want to judge too hard. Like I said, I mean, the dude wearing the Punisher patch, obviously, you know, he's getting off on this kind of shit.
Yeah, those kind of cops want something to happen, so they're gonna have excuse. You know, it's like,
yeah.
Then they're moving forward again. One step.
Squad! Forward half step! Ready, move!
These, I mean, this is police. This is supposed to be a police force. It looks like a military formation happening right now.
Also, another thing I want to know is, I'm pretty sure that there are people out there that need police assistance right now, and this is what you're using. This is what you're using your resources on.
Ready, move! Move!
Police Department, you're in violation of the 8 p.m. curfew. You must leave the area immediately.
Just from looking at these officers,
You will be arrested for
they don't look like they want to do this.
So, thanks for tuning in, Twitch and Facebook. You're watching live Elizabeth City. There's some active protests happening right now live in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, against the police shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. You're watching the police move. So far, we saw 2 protesters be arrested peacefully. They threatened to use
there's no way. No. There's no way that you could be arrested peacefully. That arrest is a violent act. So I'm not. I think that we are watering down what peaceful is. You know, it's peaceful when you compare it to shooting somebody who's unarmed in the back of the head while his hands are on the steering wheel.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But it's still not a peaceful act. It is still, you know, so-called legal kidnapping. It is still a violent act.
I mean, it's scary. You don't know where they're taking them.
Squad! Squad! Move forward, half step! Hold up, half step! Ready? Move! Move!
I've watched your kids grow up. Remember that. You raising them in this world. Teach them better. It starts with you. That's why your wife left you, bitch ass.
You know, you're going to teach his son to be an oppressor just like him. He ain't trying to hear from you. I mean, it sounds cynical, but you know, that dude probably has dried cum stains in his underwear right now from doing this shit.
You must leave the area immediately. If you refuse to leave the area, you will be arrested for North Carolina General Statute. Under North Carolina General Statute, standing.
Oh my God, they had to find the most country voice to say it to make it even more racist.
If you do not disperse immediately, you will be arrested.
Better get your nigger ass out of here.
Squad, move forward at a half step! Ready? Move! Move! Back!
Oh.
Rodriguez keeping that shit hot now. This shit, Rodriguez don't give a fuck about a nigga now. Rodriguez keeping that shit hot. Damn right, that's Rodriguez keeping that shit hot.
Quasi-Spec said they just need enough gray area for Fox News viewers to go, well, they were violating curfew while completely ignoring the fact that the curfew was to keep them from protesting.
Exactly,
yeah.
They definitely be like, they violated curfew, so whatever happens
if you would have just protested peacefully.
So it doesn't matter what happens here. Like, it's violent to those people. Like, they violated curfew, so whatever they deserve, that's what they get.
Yeah, but they don't want their rights to be infringed on, though. Because then, you know, the government is oppressive and the government is too big.
I want to go to Baskin Robbins. Not wear a mask.
I want to visit Carol Baskins. I'm tired.
So the cops are just doing this weird, intimidating military formation against a handful of protesters.
You're not here to riot. We're here to make a point. Our voices will not be silenced.
And they're taking you see he's taking pictures of that patch.
Yeah, the patch is crazy. He's bold.
I mean, the patch, the way that it's being implemented, it's a quasi racist statement. It's not a fully racist statement, but
no,
it definitely sends.
I mean, if you see that, if a cop pulls you over and you see that, you're gonna be scared. So I don't care if you think it's quasi. You see that shit on the cop.
No, I'm saying it's a quasi racist because it's not a. It's not like
I'm saying you say quasi, but it's active element that's being used. So
yeah, it is an active element. But what I'm saying is they'll try to be. No, they'll try to hide behind the fact that it's not a Nazi swastika or it's not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the way that it's being used is clear that this is kind of the stuff that they believe in, which is why more than one police force in our country has banned the use of it on the uniform.
The blue stripe Punisher shit that Quasi-Spec says. So the same woman that was trying to plead to them, they don't give a shit about her, obviously, right now. So they keep pushing these protesters back further and further.
I know him personally. I know him being out here.
That's right.
It's almost like how they took that the frog character. All of a sudden it was like,
yeah, Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe. I didn't know. All of a sudden I didn't even know that's what happened to it. It's like, you know.
It was co-opted.
Yeah.
Doing this shit for 40 fucking years. Some motherfucking black motherfuckers on this transport units at this time. Anytime that you're ready, come up.
So we're watching live in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. The police have been in this weird army formation.
They still buying houses. They still working. So now you kill us.
A quasi-spec says, yeah, some police units adopt that semi-officially, but that's also shit that police are picking up and wearing on their own. For someone putting that on of their own volition, the message is not good. But when the police join those units that will wear patches like that, they're usually pretty gung-ho about that kind of message.
So quasi-spec is saying that police units actually adapt that logo into their
yeah, some of them have
into their actual like logos, police logos. It's not just like a side thing you put. That's even spookier.
And you know, I think I've talked about it before. We've spoken about how these officers, sometimes when they go into the academy, they go there with the intent of helping the public, and you know, they have virtuous intentions, and then they get the brainwashing through the academy and then through training, because men like Derek Chauvin are supervisors and training officers, teaching them how to oppress people rather than being there to serve the people. And then they pick up this us versus them, and now they're acting. You're looking at it right now live. They're acting like they're in a war zone, and it's us versus them.
Against unarmed people, against people who are pleading, trying to plead to humanity. Obviously, not going to listen. So these are like normal people against a militarized force that's just standing around like weirdos.
This is most unfortunate.
So I'm just worried as soon as we cut off, the cops are going to act crazy. I think the live stream.
Yeah, that's why the guy doesn't want to replace his battery.
The live stream has the same feeling. I feel like as soon as we end the show, the cops are going to act buck wild. You know, it's like.
And again, why do we feel this way?
Yeah.
Because the police officers always seem to be allergic to accountability.
Yeah.
Any time that they are required to be accountable for anything that they say or do, they lose their minds.
Back in Charlotte. Let's go to red. Let's go to red. You better get ready.
And now people are upset about the injustice, so you put them in the system. You know, it's impossible. It's almost impossible to get out of the system once you go in. Goodness gracious, man.
Cameraman. Come on, man. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around.
Yeah, like quasi-spec says, it's pretty clear that it's trying to turn everything up until there's some violence. They don't want to cross into violence or mass arrest without creating an inciting incident. Like they don't want to create. They're trying to create that situation that gives them an excuse to act buck wild. You know.
Yeah, but they know that they don't. There's not enough, and there's too many. There's just too many cameras around.
And it's not enough people to act that crazy on, you know. You're really gonna like have all these police officers right now, but at the same time, I won't put past them. That's why we're all afraid to turn it off right now. Because it's like we're seeing the most wildest things, you know. We open to the possibilities of the police officers doing something to the small amount of protesters right now.
Ain't gonna let white supremacy turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let white supremacy turn me around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom way. Ain't gonna let no deputy turn me around.
I mean, this is up to the federal FBI opening an investigation.
Yep.
Turn me around. We're gonna keep on walking, Keep on talking, marching up the freedom way. Ain't gonna let no murderer turn us around. No, turn me around. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let no murderer.
I mean, it's just shocking to me. I mean, it's hearing the same spiritual songs styled for what's happening now, hundreds of years later. Hopefully they move step into the river or something like that. So if you're tuning in right now on Twitch and Facebook, there's Andrew Brown Jr. was shot 5 times, 4 in the arm, 1 in the back of the head, and the family's been trying to get more information about what happened. They got 20-second body cam footage which showed his hands with the steering wheel. So protesters are out here right now. They want more answers. They want more of the story of what happened. They want to know who was involved, and that's why people are out here right now. So far, we've seen about 2 protesters be arrested when we tuned in. As the curfew was at 8 o'clock, we were already a few hours past curfew. So the police have an excuse to arrest people, but they also want an excuse to maybe be violent. But right now, everything's been pretty calm.
They just want to be violent. You just want to be violent. You want violence. You want violence. Look at you.
Y'all should have been cautious with Brown. But no. 30 seconds.
Why are you in riot gear?
Get your bitch ass up, Orange.
Stay focused, high step. You should have had your riot gear. You should have had the riot gear in Washington, D.C. You should have had your riot gear at the U.S. Capitol.
Oh, snap.
That is a good point. He makes a really good point, though. Where was all of this when they were storming the Capitol?
Yeah. Almost,
threatening lawmakers, breaking through stuff,
smashing and injuring Capitol police officers. So they're doing the weird soldier shit, moving in on online protesters.
Looks like
a Beyonce music video.
Don't even remind me.
Yeah, they're not in court session. They're very uncoordinated.
Oh shit. So the streamer just called him stupid.
Check Status Coup. Status Coup on YouTube. On YouTube. Live the whole day here. It's gonna be live.
The rest of the week.
So I was hoping to end the show so we can have some sleep, but right now the police are looking really scary around a bunch of unarmed people, so it's hard to tune away. Yeah, it's definitely. This is how it's starting right now. It's definitely very hot summer dance.
You gotta exit.
2, 1, 2, 1, 2, step.
Oh yeah.
They look like clowns. Oh my god, yo. Look like they learned how to do this like an hour ago.
Right. You see the patch on this? I know. Yeah, it's the irony.
I mean, who is this for? Who's this making feel good? Is someone watching this on TV? Yeah, I'm glad this is happening.
You have all these white supremacist terrorists murdering black people all across the country, and we don't see you. We don't see you when all these white supremacist murderers are killing our black people. We don't see you. Now, where are you here now? We don't see you. Why do we see you now?
So Mark Presley, I definitely see some sarcasm on Mark Presley. They're certainly pushing back that huge crowd and keeping the city safe.
Yeah, because nobody. Mark Presley also said, "Fucking stormtroopers, mindless punks." Yeah, they certainly don't think for themselves.
So now they're moving on.
Jonathan LaFontaine, what if they started dancing? I would just exit the show and go to bed. I would just laugh myself to sleep.
So now it's getting really. That was a good break because this is like really tense right now. We have the protesters here who are sitting in. They're not getting up. So definitely they're getting arrested.
Yep. I don't know. Like, I know I've asked this already, but how are you proud to be part of a unit like that?
Who arresting people singing?
What are you doing to keep the people safe? What is virtuous about what you're doing?
You're arresting people singing spirituals for people who deal with slavery and civil rights movement and Jim Crow, like melodies.
Why are y'all here? Why didn't you come to D.C. on January 26th? The question to y'all is, y'all tearing down your capital. Y'all choose to be blue. Where were you when people were murdering your brother? How would you feel? They even killed that was your cousin. We didn't see this kind of boy. How would you feel? Where were you? You choose to be blue. South Carolina. You were born black. When a racist went into a church and murdered black people at gunpoint range. Where were you?
Wow.
Why are you here? Anybody here armed?
He's definitely getting in before he gets arrested.
Same way y'all being cautious, y'all should be cautious around.
White men can come in as white supremacist terrorists and murder people throughout our country and go in without a scratch.
So if you're tuning in to Facebook and Twitch, you're watching a live protest over a stream or Status Coup. Right now, Elizabeth City, North Carolina, there's a protest against Andrew Brown Jr., who was shot 5 times, 4 in the arm, 1 in the back of the head, straight execution style. I mean, the shot is like a bullseye in the back of the head. It's really sinister. And people want to know answers of why this happened right now. That's why people protested.
They're the ones who should be arrested. The ones who violated the rights of Andrew Brown Jr. and murdered him. You killed him and you shot him in the back of the head. And if it wasn't you, you're an accomplice. You're an accomplice to a crime. I got a mind. I got my brothers beside me. Ready? That's all I got.
And they're moving forward on the protesters who are sitting down.
Y'all gonna beat the media up too? Y'all gonna beat the media up too?
Yep.
They definitely want to.
Yeah. They go to moving.
Y'all came to the wrong place. The wrong damn city. Came to the wrong place. James, where you at, son?
They're so lazy.
And you see how they try to use the woman to
so
manipulate
lazy.
them.
What do you think this
I
is?
hate that.
1960? What the fuck? Like,
we're not violating the law. We're not violating the
yeah, that's why we're showing it live so people can really feel it. That's why we love the stream. Shout out to Status Coup for still being up.
Jonathan LaFontaine says that video is bad, or they would have released it already. Yeah, it's kind of like when Derek Chauvin says, "I'm gonna invoke my Fifth Amendment clause against self-incrimination." The reason why you didn't take the stand is because you know that what you did was wrong.
Yeah, that video must be pretty bad if this is what they want to do, you know. So they'd rather have the FBI come in.
We have the right to protest peacefully. We have
So
the
now
right
they're doing the
to
rest right now.
protest peacefully. We have the right to protest peacefully.
Arrests are definitely soon.
Ready, move! Move!
So right now, more protesters have been arrested than the person whoever killed Andrew Brown. So that's what's happening right now.
Close it up. Close it up. Close it up.
What is your name? What is your name? What is your name? Deanna Rudisill. Deanna Overman. Deanna Rudisill. Deanna Rudisill.
Make sure your body camera's on.
Y'all arrested the wrong people.
We just say, yeah, the rest, like, these are the people being arrested right now, you know?
And these are regular people who just they just didn't want to sit by while injustice is happening, and now they're in the system. They've got criminal records. It's going to be difficult for them to maintain employment, maintain housing for the rest of their lives because they had a problem with people who just say, hey, you know, we don't feel like being accountable for our own actions.
So Mark Presley,
we're going to arrest the people who are holding us accountable for what we did.
So Mark Presley has an interesting questioning. Why isn't this live on national news? Because the protest is not violent yet, so that's why it's not live. Once it gets violent, then it will be live. Trust me. Right now, since it's peaceful,
make sure you share this.
Yeah.
Everybody watching this on Twitch, everybody watching this on Facebook, share the fuck out of this. Share this shit. Because when you come here and you hear us talking about what's really happening in the black community, what black people are really doing in the United States of America, not what the MSM is showing you about how, you know, criminal black people are and how violent black people are and how they steal all the Nike shoes and all this garbage, right? We're showing you what's really happening on the street right now and what has happened in most of the protests since last May. Again, of all of the protests that were George Floyd related, over 97% of them had absolutely zero violence. But all you saw was the people who were breaking windows, and some of them were completely covered and part of the area police department to make it look like the black people were doing more damage than they were actually doing. Quasi-Spec said, acted like we have friends. Wow. S. Scott 1964, fascists are terms of service.
Oh, shit.
Okay, don't fuck me. I live there.
They ain't had no jurisdiction. Y'all ain't even fucking know they was here.
Hey, y'all doing a good job. Y'all doing good.
So another cop's telling the cops they're doing good, being scary.
Yeah, because like you know that what they're doing is not good. So you have to tell them they're doing good so that they won't drop their fucking bitch ass batons, take off their bitch ass helmets, and go the fuck home, which is where I'm sure most of them would rather be.
So two-stepping the whole night. Get the fuck out of here.
So the officer just came by, gave these officers
I can say they can definitely dance better than me because I can't do that shit. The two-step, sorry.
Yes.
I'm just gonna go sit my ass down.
Two-step.
Sorry.
Two-step in riot gear. Get the fuck out of
And I'm
here.
telling you, I know that a lot of people, when you come to us, some of you are not quite knowing what to expect from somebody like myself, somebody like Mr. Rhodes. But, you know, I talk to people who have biases along racial lines on a semi-regular basis. And a lot of them don't really understand what I'm talking about or why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is not police work.
And
this is a joke.
I think it's good for you guys to get a different perspective on how we see the world or what's going on here.
I mean, this is not.
We're bringing
playing
stuff
live
to
on-
you that
this
the
is not
mainstream
playing
media
live.
is not going to bring to you because it's not sensational enough. It's not going to stoke the divisions enough. So just like I don't think that all white people are racist. I think that a lot of white people need to understand that most black people are not out there being violent and doing all these.
A black cop is arresting a white protester at this very moment. It's like it's more complicated than what the media tries to portray what it is. You know, this is why people were scared because there's so many white people coming out. You know, this is why they're passing all these protest laws about running people over and shit like that.
Yeah,
they saw the diverse coalition that was happening.
Yeah,
so
everybody what's happening.
Yeah, and it's just a way to try to suppress the people.
Yeah.
So if you're one of these people who are biased against black people and you want to maintain your bias, at least look at it from the lens of people's civil rights are being violated, and this is setting legal precedent for them to be able to do so and to continue to be able to do so. So when you want to protest something that the government is doing, you know, like maybe you don't believe in, you know, the election results, you don't want to be treated this way, having your rights violated because you are speaking out about what you believe is injustice. So you don't have to support what we're talking about along racial lines. If you want to continue to dislike people who look differently than you, then that's your business. You have that right. But you need to understand it from a wider scope. And I've been saying this since before Trayvon Martin was murdered. Every single time you see entities get away with the stuff that we're seeing police get away with, you're actually giving them permission to do it to you, because they're running a beta. They're running a beta test on the people that you think are undesirable to see what you will tolerate. They want to see what freedoms you are willing to give up. And they are going to practice on the people that you don't like.
So right now, Jonathan says, it looks like there's about over 50 cops there, maybe more cops out there compared to how many protesters. You know, like, how much does this cost? It's so much money being wasted right now.
You can nod your head. You can nod that bitch. Yeah, you damn sure can. Yeah. All y'all some dick. All y'all pussy. Every last one of y'all hoes. Yeah, you too, bitch.
Okay, we're watching. This is live footage, so people are angry.
You a bitch too, boy. He black, and they killing black folks. Put a fuck in front of it. My mama, nigga, fuck all y'all. You better pray for your mama, because these motherfuckers don't get
Yeah, they definitely gonna beat the shit out of him.
It ain't your child, so it don't matter. It ain't your brother, so it don't matter. It ain't your daddy, so it don't matter.
Y'all ain't no shit.
He's fucking human, it should matter.
Y'all don't even care about y'all kids, but y'all standing out here and coming.
But they know that their kids are. See, the difference in what these protesters don't understand is the officers don't worry about their kids, because they know that when their kids get their license at age 16 and they get pulled over for speeding, doing 50 over the limit, the officer is probably going to chuckle with them, ask who their parent is, and then let them go. They know that their children are in zero, no matter what crime their child commits, they have a 0% chance of being killed by the police. So they're not worried about that, and they never will worry about it. They don't have, these officers don't have any kind of compassion, because they will never have to relate to this.
Unless you're a black cop, you beat up black
Well,
cops.
sometimes the white cop, the black cop thinks that they're an honorary white person, and then they find out, as what we talked about on Black Power Magic Hour 2 weeks ago, when they had they had one of the so-called protesters that, you know, they tried to infiltrate the protest. They beat the shit out of one of their own guys.
I'm telling you, this is a handful of protesters right now.
I can't get out, right?
And you can see the boundaries of the police go way past a few blocks. You see them all.
Yep, and she said it. She said what I said. Once she goes in, you can't get out. This is an infringement on our rights as Americans. Period.
Yeah, so right now we're live in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. It's hard to tune away because we're watching.
It's just a job to the cops. I don't know, man. It feels like a little bit more, especially when you're rocking that Punisher badge, that Punisher patch on your uniform. You know, some of them are just a little bit too gung ho. Like I said, I know a lot of them have cream in their underwear because this is the kind of shit that gets them off.
And then it's the others that the sergeant has to go up to. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job because they're hesitant.
Yeah, you have to keep the morale up because some of those officers on the line, they have consciences and they know what they're doing is morally wrong. They know this.
See, they took that dude from the line.
Move together.
One of command. Go ahead. I got 4 coming to you in the van. They're gonna need some assistance. We'll get them out.
Tariq. So as you see, they got these cops out here late night to stand in the street. Instead of being accountable, instead of being accountable in the courtroom or being accountable anywhere else, they
could have called a press conference.
Yeah.
They could have diverted all of the attention. They could have called a press conference to talk about what happened to this young man and why he was executed in the manner in which he was. But instead, they're doing this.
Turn left, move.
Oh shit! Jonathan said, "If I was a serial killer, cop work is perfect." Actually, there were some serial killer ex-cops, like the California killer.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He killed mad women. He was an ex-state trooper.
Ready, move.
Yeah, S. Scott, you're absolutely correct. They are a gang. They're a legal gang.
Left.
So the cops are moving out.
I guess the cops are like, damn, the batteries on their cameras didn't die.
Are they walking in a circle? What the fuck are they doing? So Quasi-Spec said, it's like being a car salesperson. You could be a good person doing that shit, but the nature of the job is both inherently negative as a whole by design. That's true. You know, you could be a total shitty ass car salesperson, but but at the same time, policing is different. It'd be like, every day you heard about someone dying in a car crash every day for the same fucking car, and you don't get off the street. That'd be like what's happening with the police. They don't get the car. They're not recalling the car. They're not doing anything to keep.
They're getting roasted though. They are getting roasted right now. Did you hear them on the side? They're roasting that shit. Jonathan LaFontaine. If I was a serial killer cop, work is perfect for that. I bet a low percentage are. Just like women, female serial killers who are nurses, it's the perfect cover. When I read your comment, Jonathan, I also got the thought that if you were a killer, you're waiting for the cops to kill somebody unnecessarily so that all of the police officers go to try to respond to protesters, and then you can go kill who you want because there's no cops coming. Because the cops are too busy worrying about people who are sitting down with their hands up singing hymns.
So the cops are backing off. That's what we look like right now.
Yeah, I don't know, Mark. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't.
It's just to intimidate. It's to scare, and they saw that people.
Yeah, this is an oppression measure. It is an oppression measure.
And I guess I don't know. My opinion. I feel like there wasn't enough people to be that kind of aggressive. It just looks stupid, So maybe after a while they're like, okay, let's back off and do something else. Do something more sneaky shit now, because they're not going to.
You know what? I think the government is going to start telling Apple and Samsung to make worse cell phone batteries so that the cameras will die earlier and then they can do what they really want to do. Sorry, y'all can't be making batteries that last 16 hours.
Everybody's just going to stay out.
The military gifted us these plastic batons and we want to use them, okay?
So right now it looks like it's about 6 arrests so far we've seen, about 6 or 5 arrests.
Somewhere between 6 and maybe 8.
Yeah, we've seen so far.
What church let them borrow a fucking van? Oh, county sentencing. Oh, okay. Senior center. I thought it was church man. I'm gonna say, what the fuck? So they had the Elizabeth City Pacific County Senior Center vans is what they jumped out of.
So the cops are using senior citizen center vans.
But here's another thing too that I think that we also need to think about.
Jonathan said the money ran out.
Yo, think about this too. Look at the show of force that they came with.
Yeah.
Look at all the high tech stuff. This is where our tax dollars are going.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to talk about a massive waste of resources when we've got food insecurity, we've got millions of people looking at being evicted. What?
And they were running gas in that big ass fucking F-15, F-150 the whole night.
Yeah, they had a police version of your MAGA truck.
Like they're guzzling that shit right now.
For those that want to know, Messiah has a MAGA truck.
Oh yeah, look out! I got the Chevy Colorado.
Yeah.
V6.
All right,
Yeah.
And now they're gone.
Yeah, spread kindness. All those cops are getting paid overtime.
Anymore? I don't know.
So the cops just flat out just bounce.
Yeah, bullshit. Yep.
Yo, did they just like vanish?
That's all they do. Yep.
They must have ran out of
like
money.
they
That's what
completely
Jonathan's
vanished.
saying. They must have ran out of overtime.
We did that. We did that. We did that. For what? We did that.
So I don't know if you're just watching live, ladies and gentlemen, but pretty much
Yeah,
you
there
saw.
were 7 of us.
There you go. 7 arrests.
Yo, they disappeared like a thief in the night. And they kidnapped at least 6
Right,
people.
So three over here.
Legally.
And 4 on the other side.
And that makes it even more spooky to do that, to take all those people
Watch
and
out,
just
watch out.
disappear. It's something about it. It gets on my skin, you know.
Wow, that's the ultimate. That's the final boss of MAGA trucks.
That's suspicious.
And that's a wrap.
When you get past Messiah, you got to fight that guy.
Curfew is done.
Wow.
So we just watched that live. It ended with I guess a few arrests, but no one getting their ass kicked at the moment. That was Elizabeth City, North Carolina. It's that serious right now that people out in the streets breaking curfew because they sent like a 20-second video and somehow think that we'd be okay if someone gets shot in the back of the head.
I think that and the
any
thing
circumstance that's just shady, I don't know.
It's so weird. Like when you think about human psychology, right?
Yeah.
If you are proud of what you've done, aren't you trying to release that information to the world as quickly as possible? Or if people have assumed that you have done something wrong and you know you didn't, and you've got evidence that you didn't, aren't you going to rush that out there like as soon as possible?
Instead, like as Scott says, the 7 who done the killing on paid vacation. That's what happened. They went on paid vacation. They went on paid leave, like.
And who's paying for the vacation? The taxpayer.
So we watched that live. This is definitely a developing story. That's what we just broke right now live on Black Power.
And as a disclaimer, I want to let you guys know, again, I'm not saying that the young man was murdered because I don't have all the information. But I can tell you that with all of the stories that we've seen over the years, that is going to be the first thought for many of us who have watched this time and time again and who can empathize with the black struggle.
And it took pretty much another verdict for them to release the video, another pressure for another killing for finally release that 20-second video. So this is a developing story right now in Elizabeth City. We just want to know what happened, and we're not getting a clear story at all what happened. The same thing that happened in Maryland with a white kid who allegedly had an airsoft gun and like a shitty pocket knife, and he was gunned down in his. So So this is a story that happens a lot of like someone being gunned down somehow in the driveway. Like somehow supervillains are having gun battles driving out their car. In either their driveway or someone else's driveway. It seems to be the weird kind of story that happens over and over again with these police shootings sometimes.